Lieutenant Belenko, what's going on? Are you receiving this, Lieutenant? You're witnessing a Soviet aviator hijack the Soviet Union's top-secret military plane and head directly toward a U.S. ally. His name is Viktor Belenko, and his actions are set to reshape the Cold War entirely. He's piloting a MiG-25, the planet's quickest combat jet. It's a craft the West has longed to study for ages. Soviet leaders are yelling into their communications gear in a frantic bid to halt him. U.S. spies are rushing to decode the unfolding crisis. Japan's aerial defenses remain oblivious to the renegade Soviet plane barreling their way. Meanwhile, Victor stands just 30 minutes from either liberty or doom. So, what's driving him? What compels a Soviet flyer to hijack his nation's crown jewel of weaponry? Allow me to introduce you to Viktor Belenko and the forces that drove him here. Soviet Air Defense Command, Far East Military District. At this instant, radar technicians are gaping at their displays in shock. A MiG-25 has veered wildly from its planned path. Call sign, Red 7. The pilot, Lieutenant Viktor Belenko. That jet was meant to cruise northward parallel to the Soviet shore, a typical drill. Yet the scopes reveal it's banking hard eastward, straight for Japan. A technician snatches the radio. Red 7, you're way off track. Respond. No reply. Red 7, head back to base at once. Dead air. The MiG-25 presses on eastward, slipping beyond Soviet borders into neutral skies. The duty officer hurries up, eyes the monitor. His expression drains of color. Patch me through to the base commander right away. Moments later, sirens wail across the control room. Personnel dash about, voices raised, lines buzzing. This isn't practice, it's a betrayal. A Soviet aviator is swiping a MiG-25, the USSR's ultimate guarded asset, loaded with tech the Americans would die to dissect, and delivering it right to them. The base commander bursts in, glances at the radar plot. Any interceptors up already? No, sir. The zone's clear. Launch them immediately, sir. But once they're off the ground, he'll hit international waters. Launch regardless. Airmen race toward their planes. Motors thunder to start, yet deep down, every soul there grasps the reality. It's futile. The MiG-25 reigns as the swiftest pursuer in the Soviet fleet. No match exists. Even with jets aloft now, Belenko's pushing past Mach 2, over 1,500 miles per hour. No chance of overtaking. The commander seizes the radio personally for another shot. Lieutenant Belenko, this is Commander Petrov. Return to base without delay. Non-compliance means you'll be downed. Quiet. Only crackles echo. Belenko stays silent, holds course, maintains velocity. The commander bangs the handset, turns to his team. Reach out to Moscow, inform them. Defection underway. MiG-25 bound for Japan. At KG, B Central in Moscow, chaos explodes. A MiG-25 hijacked, catastrophe. Beyond a single defector, this hands the USSR's cutting-edge secrets to America on a platter. The U.S. has chased a MiG-25 for years, dangling millions for any insider willing to provide one. Now one's getting it gratis from this pilot. Top brass mobilize. Options? Down him? That risks the plane scattering into the sea, or landing on Japanese turf where Yanks snatch the debris and pour over it. Allow escape? Unimaginable. Intercept? Out of reach. Let me pause here for a second. If this tale's captivating you, hit subscribe. It means the world for producing more like it. Inside the cockpit, Viktor Belenko eyes his fuel indicator, and dread washes over him. It's plummeting rapidly, far too quick. The MiG-25 guzzles fuel voraciously, particularly at top throttle. He sustained peak speed for more than 20 minutes to flee Soviet skies as swiftly as possible. The toll hits now, He crunches the figures mentally. Miles to Japan, remaining reserves, burn rate. The outlook's grim. He won't reach a big urban hub. It's the nearest landing strip or bust. Otherwise, it's the drink. Belenko peers at the vast ocean unfurling beneath. The Sea of Japan, inky, frigid. A splashdown here ends it all. The jet vanishes. Soviets reclaim nothing. Americans gain zilch. His stakes, life, prospects, loved ones, wasted. He shoves the fear aside, locks in. Japan's shore edges into view ahead. Hazy, yet there. Almost. So near. Still the gauge sinks further, dipping into danger. Critical. Mere minutes remain, perhaps fewer. He sweeps the vista in urgency, hunting salvation. Lights of a town, an airstrip, a strip of pavement, any smooth surface. Then it materializes. Hakodate sprawls across the northern Japanese island of Hokkaido. Right beside it lies an airport, modest in size, designed for civilian use rather than military operations. Yet it boasts a runway, which is precisely what he requires. Belenko corrects his heading, aiming the MiG-25 straight at the facility. His fingers clench the yoke with unyielding force. The fuel alert flashes crimson now, insistent and urgent. The power plant stutters briefly, then falters once more. His reserves are nearly exhausted. The airfield looms larger by the moment, its outlines sharpening. The strip comes into sharp focus, flanked by the passenger building and several commercial planes lined up along the apron. The motor hacks and dies completely. Belenko coasts in on whatever vapor remains, descending toward the pavement. And now for the wildest twist, you might assume the CIA orchestrated this with him. Clandestine rendezvous, U.S. spies pulling strings. Not even close. Belenko orchestrated the whole thing solo. No external allies, no covert support. Just a lone Soviet aviator, devising a way to hijack the Soviet Union's most guarded plane amid round-the-clock oversight. His scheme either pays off in epic fashion or dooms him within the coming minute. Let me break down precisely how he pulled it off. If it succeeds, it's sheer brilliance. If it crumbles, he's finished. So, how does one commandeer a supersonic fighter under perpetual scrutiny, with the KGB shadowing your every step? When a single misspoken phrase lands you in cuffs, Viktor Belenko cracked an unfathomable riddle, and he nailed it with cunning precision. First, pinpoint the ideal timing. Belenko couldn't simply bolt without cause. All sorties were documented, scrutinized, archived. He required a valid pretext for going airborne. Thus, he bided his time for months, scrutinizing the roster in search of that golden window. It arrived eventually, September 6, 1976. An ordinary exercise run, a standard sweep parallel to the Soviet shore by the Sea of Japan. Cleared, anticipated, unremarkable. No one would raise alarms until he vanished for good. Next, master the charts. Belenko devoted months to etching landscapes, routes, and spans into his memory. No charts could accompany him. No notes permitted. All details locked in his mind alone. He computed fuel limits. What distance could a MiG-25 cover at full load? Was Japan or South Korea within grasp? He pored over dominant breezes, atmospheric conditions, any factor that might sway his trajectory. He committed to recall every airstrip in northern Japan, Hakodate, Sapporo, Misawa. Contingencies were essential if complications arose. Third, confide in nobody. This was non-negotiable. Belenko trusted no soul, not comrades in the squadron, not buddies, not his spouse. KGB moles lurked in every corner. A loose tongue, an offhand gripe about the regime, a whisper of discontent, and he'd face detention and grilling. The scheme would collapse before launch. Hence, he buried it deep for months, leading a bifurcated existence. Outwardly, the devoted Red Air Force man, inwardly plotting betrayal. Fourth, maintain the facade. Arguably the toughest challenge, Belenko pressed on as the flawless Soviet flyer, reporting for duty, obeying commands, joining ideological sessions, grinning, joking, feigning contentment. Any shift in demeanor could spark doubts. Day in, day out, week upon week, month after month, he sustained the performance, all the while scheming his breakout. Fifth, pull the trigger. On the morning of September 6th, Belenko rose as usual. He pecked his wife farewell, withholding that this might be their final parting, motored to the base, donned his gear, sat through the mission rundown, a typical drill. Nothing amiss. He strode to his MiG-25, ran the inspections, all routine. Then he settled into the seat, buckled up, fired the turbines, and lifted off. Merely another practice hop, or so it appeared. Sixth, the pivot. In the sky, Belenko adhered to his route northward along the littoral, to the letter, visible on scopes, protocol intact. The initial quarter hour passed without incident. Ground controllers monitored steadily. No red flags. Then he executed the switch, a steep veer eastward, abandoning Soviet territory for Japan. Pedal to the metal, top velocity. Chaos erupted then. But too late. He'd crossed into neutral skies, hurtling past Mach 2. Untouchable, unstoppable. That was the blueprint. Endless groundwork, weighed odds, impeccable synchronization, ironclad resolve. Yet flawless strategies hinge on flawless execution. And at this instant, Viktor Belenko drifts toward Japan, motor silent. His estimates on gas were tight, but insufficient. Will he glide near enough to touch down, or will his masterstroke conclude in flames? The MiG-25 strikes the runway with brutal force. The undercarriage takes the pounding in a savage shudder. The plane rebounds once, then smacks the surface again. Rubber shrieks against asphalt. The frame creaks in protest. Viktor Belenko wrestles the stick, battling to hold her steady. No ignition, no drive, only inertia and descent propel him. He stomps the pedals. The jet shudders fiercely as its speed drops. It slows further, further still. At last, it comes to a halt right in the center of the runway at Hakodate Airport, Japan. Viktor Belenko pauses there briefly, catching his breath, fingers lingering on the controls. He pulled it off. He really did. He's still breathing. He's reached Japan. And he's defected with a MiG-25. Within the terminal building, pandemonium breaks out. Travelers crowd the glass panes, gaping in disbelief. A Soviet warplane has dropped onto their airstrip without any prior notice. No alerts, no radio chatter. It simply materialized and thudded onto the pavement. Voices rise in alarm, fingers jab toward the scene. Some fear an assault, others suspect a wreck. Confusion reigns. Security personnel hustle about, snatching walkie-talkies, summoning reinforcements. Officials from the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force get the urgent alert. Law enforcement vehicles speed toward the site. This defies all norms. An unauthorized military plane from abroad has touched down on Japanese territory. The control tower staff reels in astonishment. Radar had picked up the unknown blip, streaking in at high velocity, zeroing in on their position. Attempts to hail it failed. They observed its plunge, an unscheduled emergency touchdown. No authorization, no contact. A lone interceptor has intruded into routine civilian air traffic. Now it squats on the strip, obstructing all movement. Passenger jets are rerouted. Operations grind to a standstill. Viktor Belenko releases his straps, slides back the canopy. Cool breeze washes over him. Distant wails of sirens grow nearer. He hoists himself from the seat, edges along the wing, then drops to the earth. Solid Japanese ground beneath his feet. He lifts his arms deliberately, palms open to signal he's weaponless. harmless. Security cars brake sharply nearby. Personnel leap out, weapons ready, barking orders in Japanese. Viktor Belenko can't parse the language, but the intent is clear. Drop down. He sinks to his knees, laces fingers behind his neck, stays compliant. An officer edges forward warily. Barrel trained on Viktor Belenko. "Who are you? What's your purpose here?" Viktor Belenko replies in halting English, his sole tongue outside Russian. "I'm a Soviet aviator. I seek sanctuary. I wish to reach the United States." The man gapes, baffled. A Soviet flyer absconding with a MiG-25. This exceeds their protocols entirely. Reinforcements swarm in. Cops, troops. They encircle Viktor Belenko, lock down the plane. Uncertainty prevails. This isn't mere desertion. It's an international incident. Viktor Belenko goes into protective holding, not formal arrest, held for interrogation and safety. Officials whisk him away from the jet, escort him to a guarded spot, and soon the lines light up. Moscow reaches out to Tokyo, insisting on swift handover of the aviator and machine, warning of repercussions. Washington calls Tokyo too, seeking interviews with the pilot and plane, pledging aid and safeguards. Viktor Belenko waits in a chamber, stripped of command, of influence, just enduring. Japan faces a dilemma: repatriate him to inevitable doom, or court fallout with the Soviet bloc. His fate pivots on their call. So, how did it unfold? Did Japan shield him? Did the U.S. claim the MiG-25? And once they dissected it, what revelations emerged? Those findings reshaped the Cold War. Japan chose wisely. They approved Viktor Belenko's asylum and permitted U.S. experts complete inspection of the MiG-25. The Soviets raged, issuing stern diplomatic warnings, pressing for the plane's restitution. Japan stood firm, and in under 2 days, U.S. technicians landed in Hakodate, primed to probe the Soviet Union's most guarded flyer. Their discoveries stunned all. The West had imagined the MiG-25 as an invincible marvel, boasting exotic alloys, state-of-the-art circuits, peerless capabilities. Reality proved otherwise. The MiG-25 relied on steel, unlike the titanium frames of US F-15S. Steel, bulky, rudimentary. The rationale? Soviet titanium shortages forced the switch, offset by enormous power plants. Its systems ran on vacuum tubes, not solid-state transistors. Tech from the 1960s. While the West advanced with integrated circuits, Moscow clung to older designs. Yet the ingenuity shone through. Those tubes resisted EMPs from atomic blasts. Antiquated, sure, but blast-proof. Construction felt coarse, with exposed fasteners, rough seams, far from the sleek craftsmanship of American jets. U.S. specialists marveled. This wasn't the juggernaut of nightmares. Swift, indeed, topping Mach 2.8, though only briefly. Prolonged velocity would wreck the motors. Endurance suffered too. Thirst for fuel was voracious. The MiG-25 managed perhaps 90 minutes at fighting pace before depleting its tanks. It suited brief sorties, not extended ops. Launch, engage the intruder, return. The U.S. experts recorded every detail, snapping more than 50,000 photos, breaking down key parts, scrutinizing the radar setup, armament features, construction materials, and overall design. The intel they pulled from it was worth an estimated $2 billion or more. Sure, the MiG-25 didn't turn out to be some ultimate war machine, yet grasping its weaknesses proved invaluable. America finally had a clear picture of the threat and figured out strategies to neutralize it, even defeat it outright. Following 2 months of intensive study, Japan shipped the aircraft back to the Soviet Union, packed away in crates reminiscent of flat-pack IKEA gear. And Viktor Belenko, He secured political refuge in the United States, along with a fresh identity and a liberated existence. But the Soviets wouldn't allow his wife and child to join him. A deliberate penalty. He was left without them forever. Fleeing the USSR on his own, he spent his remaining years in America in solitude. Freedom came at that steep personal cost.